Now we will move into indexing and slicing with multidimensional arrays. As we see here, we have a 3x3 multidimensional array, and we can see we have 3 rows and 3 columns. And we are going to see how to index that. When we want to index multidimensional array, we pass 2 values there. The first value should be the value of the row we are targeting, and the second value should be the value of the column that we are targeting. In this case, we have targeted the first row and the second column. Remember that when we are indexing in array, we start with index 0. So when I have put 1 here, it means I am targeting the row here, because the row up here is index 0, the row here is index 1, row here is index 2. And for the column, the same rule apply. 147 is the first column, which is column 0 because it's at index 0. 258 is column index 1. 369 is column index 2. So, looking at that, we can guess that the value that we are targeting here is the number 6 because it's in the second row, however, index 1, and the value is in the third column, which is index 2. And that is exactly what we have here. Then slicing in multidimensional array is also very easy. In this case, we want to slice the first 2 rows. And how we do that is to pass a column and then the index of that row. The column here is to signify that we want to start from the beginning. That is, slice all the rows just before the second row. And that is why we see that the value here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's ignoring the very third row. The same way we can slice with the column. And in this case, we are slicing with the second column. You will see that instead of starting with the index value of the column and then adding this to the end, things are switching because now we are working with column. For column, we start with this column variable by a comma, and then we say we want to slice all the elements in the second column. The element in the second column, as we would see here, is 258, and this is index 0. Don't forget, this is index 1, so we expect that to be 258. Now, we have what we call conditional indexing. That is, we want to index based on some conditions. For example, we want to go through each element of this array and we want to get only the elements that are divisible by 2. That is, even numbers. And how to do that is using the modulo 2 and checking if there is no remainder. So this actually just checks if that value, when divisible by 2, returns 0. We know that every even numbers are divisible by 2 without any remainder. And as you can see, that has returned the even numbers in this array. Now I'm going to show you how we can modify elements using indexing and slicing. I've created a new array for the purpose of this, and we can see it's just an array of tens in increasing order, 10, 20 to 50. When we want to modify using indexing and slicing, we basically just use what we call the indexing. And why we are using the indexing is because it is easier for us to select the index that we want to modify and assign that to some values.
Hello there. If you have enjoyed this course so far, kindly support me and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe will also help you know when newer courses are released. Thank you for subscribing. I do hope you have. Let's carry on with the course.
So here we are saying from the index 1 up onto index 3, because indexing will actually not use the final indexing. It's like saying this as 1 to 3, that is the first, second, third, because it ignores just before the element here. And we want to modify that to these values. So it means that we want to modify the number 20, 30, and 40 because this is index 0. So this is index 1, index 2, index 3. And like I mentioned, the last element here is ignored. If we want to also modify the value here, then this needs to be 5. Well, for the purpose of this explanation, I'm just going to leave it at 4. And as you would see here, it has modified the index that we have selected to the values in according order. If you have selected 3 elements to be modified and you have not assigned it to 3 elements, that is definitely going to throw an error. Now we will look at how we delete elements using indexing and slicing. I have created another array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because we have changed the values of the array over time. So that's why I'm creating a new array. When we want to delete, we use the np.delete function. Remember, np is our alias for NumPy. And we pass into the delete function 2 items. The first one is the array we want to delete and the index, that is the positions of the numbers we want to delete. So this means that the value at index 1, which is 2, and the value at index 3, which is 4, remember is 0, 1, 2, 3. I know it may be confusing, but with time you are going to get it. So as I mentioned, the index here, so this is not the numbers we want to delete, but the index values of the numbers. So the element at index 1 is number 2, and the element at index 3 is number 4 because we start with 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's see what that gives us. As you can see, it has deleted the items at index 1 and index 3, and we are left with 1, 3, 5 because the element at index 1 is 2, so that's no longer there. The element at index 3 is 4, and that is no longer there. The same thing has been done here. However, I have introduced the slicing method to this. If you can take a pause to think about what the slicing method do with these results, I think that will be very useful. Okay, now we still have the np.delete function. We have passed in our array. However, the slice is to delete from one position to the other position. It's like providing a range to the element we want to delete. In the previous example, we have only passed the individual index, but what if we actually want to delete from one index to another? This is where the slice function comes in, and it's actually a Python inbuilt function. Here you can see that we are left with 10 and 50, and that's because it's going to delete every element from index 1 up until index 3, because we know that it ignores, just like the one that I showed you here, it ignores that last element and just do like a -1 on it. So in this case, this is index 0, so that is preserved because it starts from index 1, that's gone. Index 2 is still in the range. Index 3 is still in the range. However, we know that it will not delete from index 4 because this was from 1 to whatever value is here -1. I know that's one of the weird things that we find in Python. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this section where we've explored different ways to index and to slice an array. And I'll see you in the next section where we'll be talking about different operations and functions that we can perform with an array.
Hello there. If you have enjoyed this course so far, kindly support me and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe will also help you know when newer courses are released. Thank you for subscribing. I do hope you have. Let's carry on with the course.